The thing about communism, Marxism, and leftism that one needs to remember is that it's going to go through metamorphoses.
There's not just one kind of Marxism, there are several, and they do take a different kind of approach to certain things.
But the core of radicalism remains and has never changed and never will, and that is that you can mold people through political agencies and through the state and change the very nature of human beings in doing so.
While classical Marxism has fallen in former communist countries, it still appeals to Western intellectuals. But this Marxism is slightly different from that of Marx and Lenin. Marxist Leninists believe that economic change through socialism will transform the culture. Neo-Marxists teach that cultural change must come before socialism will be achieved. Many in today's left wing are not focusing on the labor movement or economic theory, unlike the Marxists of the last generation. Instead, they desire broader cultural change.
It's been more in vogue in this country. Forget about organizing the workers. Forget about the proletariat. Capture the culture.
Changing America's values is seen as the best way to usher in the socialist utopia. This is why the left tried to undermine traditional moral and cultural values. The fastest and most effective way to do this is through the cultural shaping institutions of education, the arts, and the media.
The left dominates the culture. The left controls the universities and the media.
The Marxist influence on the culture is a fascinating study in itself, because at one time the Marxists thought if they could get the working class to revolt against their bosses, they would establish their utopia. But they've been more successful with the intellectuals. And here they have used the intellectuals to influence our total culture. And primarily through education. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but also through radio, television, Hollywood.
Neo-Marxists no longer work to free the oppressed working class. Instead, they focus on what they believe are today's oppressed groups: blacks, women, and homosexuals. Groups that are thought to be excluded from power are given the highest social status. The victim has the favored role. To be black, female, or homosexual is to enjoy a sort of secular sainthood.
Instead of society being divided among classes, in that Marxian sense of property owners or non-property owners, the divisions are between the sexes, irreconcilable, inevitable, and having no solution unless one sex dominates the other. Or race. There is an irreconcilable conflict between the races. One race cannot help looking down upon another race and cannot free itself from a racist mentality. And therefore, there must be a political imposition of race harmony. There must be a political transformation and imposition of gender harmony and fairness and justice. All of these are perpetuated and persistent variations on Marxist theme.
Group membership is everything. Your esteem and pride are not tied to your personal success through your effort in a free society, but rather to your membership in a group. So groupthink is the legacy of Marxism.
Thomas Sowell, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, recently said, "Marxism continues to flourish on American college campuses as perhaps nowhere else in the world."
The fall of the Berlin Wall was supposed to have spelled the death of Marxism, but the truth is Marxism thrives on our campuses today. It thrives in those campuses in the light of feminism, which was radical to begin with, in the light of the homosexual revolution, in the light of the Frankfurt School, in the light of multiculturalism. It's just one aspect after another.
Today, our campuses are filled with radicals who believe in this and preach these doctrines and indoctrinate their students in them. It is dominant in departments of English and sociology and probably even history in most of our universities and colleges. It's very worrying.
Many educators push radical leftist philosophy, often teaching Marxist concepts in the curriculum. Marxism is often found behind the ideologies and politics of multiculturalism and political correctness. Multicultural proponents believe that all inequalities, including cultural inequalities, are evil. Multiculturalists teach that all cultures must be equally valued, even cultures who practice inhumane religious rituals, such as female circumcision. The humanities are full of textbooks that decry Western imperialism and colonialism. Oppression is the favorite word of the advocates of political correctness and multiculturalism. In fact, some universities now require courses in multiculturalism as a way to combat this oppression.
You go to university to expand your thinking, to acquaint yourself with a body of thought that's been passed down to us. And if you're told that everything that's been written or performed in the past is just a chronicle of oppression, and you now need liberation, I mean, that's a Marxist paradigm.
What they do is they brainwash students, they seduce them into their little web, and then they say, you help us produce a revolution in America, let us say, and then trust us to lead the revolution.
Much of education today is Marxist-oriented, and our young people, our Christian young people especially, need to be fully aware of this. It doesn't take that long. It isn't that difficult to grasp. It's just that they need to realize that ideas have consequences and that they have to have better ideas than the Marxists, and I believe they do, by the way. The 20th century has proven that certain ideas just don't work, and we just haven't learned that lesson yet.
Proponents of these ideologies do have power. They indoctrinate tomorrow's teachers, lawyers, journalists, and government officials. Free speech is being restricted on campuses in the name of sensitivity to the oppressed groups. Could similar restrictions to individual freedom spill over from the campuses to the society as a whole?
A student in the university is just going to have their faces immersed in the sludge of America's imperialist, exploitative, genocidal, racist history. And that is very corrosive. I don't know how a nation can survive if that goes on too long.
Let me make a suggestion to students who find themselves in classes where ideas are presented and books are assigned and papers are given that present a challenge and an antithesis to what they know to be true about the free society. You have to work twice as hard. That is to say, you have to understand the Communist Manifesto. You have to understand the arguments of the left better than the left understands it. And then you have to do twice as much research in understanding what the refutation of these ideas are.